pretty quick for a little SUV.
Still moves, right?
Yeah, right. But feels very solid.
Yeah, I mean, globally the car's like 5% stiffer torsionally, but really what we focused on was endpoint stuff for the suspension and connections, make those super stiff, and that way we could lower the bushing rates and get better isolation, so you get a better ride, but it also feels solid.
Yeah, it's lighter, but it feels heavier.
Yeah, it's a good way to
And
put it.
not in the steering, just in the
Like the agility, sort of the feel
planted.
of it. Right?
Oh boy, it pulls hard.
Yeah, it does, right?
Yeah, it pulls hard all the way up.
Welcome to that episode of Jay Leno's Garage, the car featuring today an early look at the 2026 Model Y. A lot of upgrades on this. You'll find out what they are. Here's my favorite thing about working with Tesla. See, a lot of times they'll send like a product person or a sales representative. We have the designer, Franz, who designed it, and Lars, the engineer, to tell us all about the car. And these are the guys that made it what it is today. Let's bring them in. Franz and Lars, how you doing, guys? Good to see you.
Hey, Jay, good to see you.
How are you?
It's so nice. That's right, Jay. You know, you always get those kind of product guys. And that's what I like about Tesla. Cut right to the quick, get the guys that actually built the thing. Very cool. Now, the front end looks a lot cleaner to me. That's your area, design. That's the thing I picked up. But I'm sure there's a lot more subtle little design things here, isn't it? Because it's not just about design, it's about aerodynamics, correct?
Well, it's about design and engineering, and
Right.
aerodynamics is a part of that. And
Right.
when we work together really well, we end up with a great product. You know, the idea with the new Model Y was to take the best-selling vehicle on the road and make it better. And we listened to customer feedback, something we're really good at doing. We just looked at, what we're doing with new design language for Cybertruck, Cybercab, and you start to see that emerging in the new Model Y as well. So again, the front really distinctive now. It has its own personality. I think that's something that was lacking on the outgoing Model Y. A lot of people thought it's just like a bigger Model 3. Now it has its own unique headlights, unique front end look, and with that, we were able to make the car more efficient. So giving back range.
Is this the best-selling car in this segment of the market?
It's the best-selling car in the world in 2023.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
And we think 2024, the numbers aren't out yet, but we're pretty sure 2024 as well.
You know what's funny? Because people who don't really know, well, how many cars does Tesla sell here? Like 10,000? No, it's the best.
Million, yeah.
It's the best-selling car in the world now.
Yeah,
and in
millions.
the luxury segment, beats Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, everybody combined.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. Each year, the change is just subtle. It just becomes a better-looking version.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And this
That's
is
my
the
job.
dual motor version.
This is a dual motor.
Okay.
It's actually, we're starting with the launch edition. And then all of the other variants, the dual motor base edition, rear wheel drive, performance, the 7-seater options, those will come later in the year.
And this is about what, 46,000?
So yeah, the base price of launch edition is $46,990, but we get all the bells and whistles, including everything. It's $59,990 to start, and then we'll.
Yeah, but that's with dual motor.
Dual motor in launch edition is 455 horsepower,
All right.
430 foot-pounds of torque. The base dual motor is 410 horsepower. But that's like, it's not just horsepower, it's the torque that matters, and we get that power straight off the line. So
Right.
0 to 60 is improved on this car, goes 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds.
Well, that's the old saying, horsepower sells cars, torque wins races.
That's right.
Yeah. I was talking with someone, they said, oh, I like these headlights. But these are not the headlights.
Correct.
These are not the
Yeah,
headlights.
these are not the headlights.
This is just a light bar,
Headlights
right?
are actually down here.
Okay.
And this is a distinctive light bar, also DRL, daytime running lights, so required,
Well, let me ask you something about headlights. Now, these look lower to me. Is there something about the light that's different? Because it seems like this would be awful low to meet the...
Yeah, I mean, the headlight height requirement doesn't change based on the vehicle type. And so actually the headlight position there, the fender's raised just a little bit.
Yep.
The old headlight was about here.
Right.
So it is a couple inches lower, but it's still well within the requirements.
Okay.
Cool thing about the headlights, they're matrix style headlights, so they have the ability to change their, their beam pattern. And we're going to launch in a couple of months, right after we start delivering automatic adaptive driving beams. So first in the US should be, when other cars are coming at you, the lights will turn off to the oncoming traffic so they don't get blinded.
Yeah, because, I noticed something maybe it's me. I'm maybe getting old. The LED headlights seem so much brighter.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
bright.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they're much brighter.
I come up of a Coldwater Canyon and a car's coming. I'm like,
Yeah, blinded.
I'm like, geez, I'll flash my lights and realize those are the low beams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They flash me back.
Yeah. But with this matrix technology now, we'll be able to not blind you,
Right.
but you'll still be able to see everything else on the road. So
Okay,
So
very
safer
good.
for you and for the people coming at you.
Yeah, very good. What else do we have new at the front?
I mean, the front end, I think it's a very good, you were talking about the design, Franz, but it's a great merge of engineering and design. So we get the look Franz wants, but with this light bar, we also get improved front end aerodynamics. We have this kind of faceted sort of shingled feature here that allows us to flow the air up over the top faster and quicker than before and get a nice laminar flow going on the back. The coefficient of drag, overall is down as low as 0.22 now, depending on what wheels and tires you have. It's like a 4 or 5% improvement. It's really because of this front end. But the other cool thing it did was it made it safer for pedestrian impacts and also frontal crash. We were able to get a much better pulse, reduce the occupant injury, and give you a better, not that you should hit people, but if you do get
But if
hit,
you did,
right.
yeah.
you fall softer onto the hood.
They have to bounce off and get up laughing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a little Easter egg, we have a front camera now, so pretty exciting for people that want to see what's down right in front of them. You don't hit a curb anymore.
And that gives us the ability to do the 360-degree view, which right now is in all our cars with Tesla sort of vision showing that emulated view, but now we have the ability we could.
Let me ask you something as a designer, because to me, one of my favorite years for design was 1966, because from that point on, all these government rules come in. You could design the Lamborghini Miura. You could design whatever you want. I don't want bumpers or anything. I don't want anything in the front of it. And do you sort of yearn for those days? You could just have pure design, because now the design has to earn its due. It can't look good but not be efficient. Efficiency comes first.
Correct. I mean, I think the role of the designer is to take the rules and regulations and make them feel like they don't actually exist.
Right.
And then I think we do a pretty good job of that with our group, where we make a beautiful looking car that meets all the regulations and all the engineering requirements, but it doesn't feel like it's kind of hit with that ugly stick,
Right, yeah.
In a way, having some guardrails, I think, is actually good. But yeah, of course, we want to do the really wild, crazy stuff. Maybe one day we'll get back to that.
When the what was it, the 5960 Chevy came out with the bat wing rear
Yeah,
and they had,
exactly.
It works as a pontoon to
Right.
keep
Keep you straight on the highway.
all this phony stuff.
The stories are great, right?
Yeah. The rear end would lift up and hilarious. So
I mean, definitely yearn for those days, but again, having the guardrails also makes us focus, because you can get lost in the ability to do anything.
Are you surprised we still have side view mirrors?
Yeah.
Because I
A little
would have
bit.
thought by this point we'd have just a small camera here, and you
mean like the one right below
This
it?
is an enormous piece of equipment here, and the drag must be pretty
Yeah, we actually
substantial.
added a feature. You can
see
see
that
it, your
line?
hand is on it. The
Yeah.
feature is to improve the aero drag, but also the acoustic drag on the windows. So the cabin noise is quieter. With this little ridge here, it actually helps the airflow around.
Because I found with modern cars, sometimes I go, "Ugh, I'm just trying to see around
Around the mirror.
the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's coming soon. We'll replace that with a monitor inside the car,
Right.
kind of equal size. But actually, with full self-driving, you don't need mirrors at all,
Yeah.
right? The car's going to drive for you, so you just sit back.
But you still want to.
Europe has regulations that allow what Franz just
Right.
talked about. The U.S. and the rest of the world just have to
Okay.
catch up.
Well, we're always late with that. I remember in 1957, when dual headlights came out, in a lot of states, they had to make a single headlight model.
Yeah.
Because Connecticut, you couldn't do it. A few other, dual headlights are too bright.
If only they saw today's LEDs, right?
Yeah.
Right?
exactly.
I mean, there are still some rules like that. In some states, they dictate, one or two states dictate what all the requirements for every state
Yeah.
have to be, and we have to abide by that.
I will say, when it comes to design and engineering, and Franz, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I tell my team, and we try to bend over backwards to give the designers whatever they want. Other companies I've worked at, in the past, was sort of engineering, here's the rule, here's a regulation. And at Tesla, we're like, okay, that's what you want. Let's figure out how we can make it work. Kind of like this headlight situation we were talking about. I don't know, nominally people would have probably just put it up here. But Franz didn't want this two beam sort of headlight thing. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll figure it out.
We wanted to make a non-traditional front end. We wanted to kind of take it into the future. We started seeing that with the Cybertruck and Cybercab, so we wanted to continue that futuristic.
Well, it is
advanced
funny,
feel.
because you can't sell something before it's time. We learned in history, like when the Chrysler Airflow came out, oh, what a beautiful car, smooth, aerodynamic, but it didn't have
Of
a
its
big
time.
grill
Yeah.
like
Right.
this to push
Right.
the air out of
Right.
the way. And people, they oh, it doesn't look expensive. It didn't have a big ornament on the front of a man or a bird or something. Like Duesenberg hated that.
Yeah, he did.
But everybody wanted an ornament when they bought a Duesenberg, so the dealers came out with what they called the Duesenbird, that long,
The little bird, yeah.
that little thing
Right.
on the front.
Right.
And that was not factory. The engineers were like, no, we don't want. Oh, all right, fine, that's what people want.
Funny you should say that, Jay. You may notice
Yes, no grill on the
there's no
front.
grill and no
Right.
badge up front. We
Right.
took the T off. We figured Franz's styles were iconic enough. People know it's a Tesla.
But like after the war, they didn't call it a hood ornament; they called it a gun sight.
Yeah.
So you had
Yeah.
you had a fighter pilot
Right.
sort of thing on your car.
Right.
Yeah, but remember the turn signals are out here on the Chryslers.
Yeah.
With the little
You have
tips
to
on
look
them.
outside to see if the blinkers on.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And Pontiac actually had the crosshatch, that you could see right down the middle.
Now I noticed for a while there, disappearing windshield wipers were the big deal.
Tuck them under.
Yeah, but now they're sort of visible again. Is there much drag with these?
Well, luckily there's just a hint of a flip in the hood.
Yeah, I see that.
In the surface, so it
Yeah.
really is just deflecting the air over. And it's always a game of how small can we make this to allow the wipers to come out. We still need pressure on the wipers so that they actually clean the glass when you need them. And so we're just always playing with that balance. And these are they're just out of the airflow.
Well, like that car over there, that Citroen SM, that's the best car to drive in the rain because you don't need the wipers.
It just goes around
It just
Yeah.
goes. I mean, in a heavy rain, obviously,
Right.
really. But for the most part, I rarely turn them on, and that's 1971. So that's 50 years ago. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Okay, let's move along down the line here. What else do we have?
I mean, the wheels are new and tires. This is actually our lowest combination rolling resistance and aerodynamic wheel and tire set that we've ever put on an SUV.
Right.
This is a Helix version 2. On the other one, on the 19-inch, you get the Crossflow, has removable covers. But these are, we spend a lot of time down here in this airflow area. You can see how the tire comes and meets the wheel like this.
Right.
This transition here is super important to keeping the air tight on the side of the car and reducing that drag. So a lot of work went into that with the team. Similarly, we got this little lip here on the edge of the side repeater. That's actually to self-clean the camera.
Okay.
So it creates an eddy current in the air. It comes up and it flows over and it cleans that camera and makes sure that there's no water getting on the camera there.
I mean, Lars, you also mentioned that we have an air curtain, so
Yes.
air comes through here, and you can see it comes out here and flows just over the tire. So combining that with the design of the lip of the rim and the section of the tire, you just get a really clear.
Now, one
flow.
feature I would always see in cars of the future would be skirts. The wheel would be enclosed, and the rear would be just see the bottom of the tire.
Yeah.
And it sort of made sense. Oh, aerodynamics, but that never caught on, did it? It's just too much
Well,
trouble.
I mean, the front tires have to turn, so that's
Right.
always a problem.
Right.
You had some of those older cars where they encased it in the housing.
The whole fender, yeah.
And then the rear, really with everything Sharon's talking about, the benefits just they outweigh the cons because then you can't change a tire, you got to
Right.
take off the thing.
Right.
And we don't really have that much, detachment back there or anything from even the shape we have here.
And people like to see the wheels, like on your Citroen back there.
Right,
You
right,
couldn't see the
exactly.
rear wheel, and it doesn't feel as sporty. And
Obviously, the flush handles.
Same handles,
same,
brushes
yeah,
before.
same handles. Not so much new on the body side. There's a lot new in the interior. We'll get to that in a little bit.
And this is a pretty high roof line, isn't it?
This roof is actually just a couple of fractions of an inch shorter than the old Model Y, but we have the same interior headroom.
Yeah.
But
Well, I remember Ed Welburn telling me the height of the average American automobile now is the same as it was in 1938.
Oh, I
'Cause
believe
there's so
that.
many
That I
SUVs.
believe. The SUVs,
You
yeah.
had a DeSoto, and the
Yeah.
guy's here, and the roof is up here.
Yeah.
And that's where we are again.
Yeah,
same place.
He thought that was pretty funny for some reason. We haven't come that far because it's the same height as it was in 1938.
All cyclical, right?
that roof's super cool, though. That roof is the first application of low emissivity glass
Right.
in an automotive application. You get that a lot in
And
architectural
what kind of
design.
glass did you call it?
Low emissivity, low E. Have you heard
Okay.
of low E? It's
Okay.
architectural glass usually.
Right.
But what that does is allows us to reject about 25, 30% more of the heat that's coming in the car. With a glass roof, obviously it can get hot in the sun.
Right.
And so we actually put what that technology is it's like micro deposits of silver all throughout the glass, and that silver reflects the heat, and it keeps the cabin, cooler on the inside. But you wouldn't know that by looking at it.
Right.
Well, it's interesting because when that Citroen DS came out, that had a fiberglass roof because it was extremely light. I mean, you're sort of raising your center of gravity. How heavy is this piece of glass? Is it heavier than just having an aluminum roof?
When you have an aluminum roof, you often add the headliner in.
Right.
So adding a full glass roof with the open headliner ends up only being a couple of pounds heavier. And
okay.
For the benefit that you get in terms of occupant headspace and the view of the car and the aerodynamics, in the view, it's probably worth it.
When you're inside the car, the view out feels airy and spacious. It doesn't feel like you're closed in.
Now these wheel covers, I mean, it looks like a simple design, but there's a lot of thought went into the aerodynamics of this turbine with the way it's churning the air, correct?
Yeah.
Like, for example, is this more efficient than if you just had like a moon hubcap, just smooth?
Well, the ideal scenario that Franz knows we go for is like a moon hubcap.
Exactly.
Right.
But actually, what's most important for the aerodynamics as the wheel is spinning is out on the outside. So you see this outer inch here. If you actually reach behind it, you'll notice there's nothing behind there. That right there, you see how it falls away?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That right there is really the 80-20 for us when it comes to the aerodynamics, and that's where we put a lot of effort in. And then Franz does a lot of work to try and make the wheel still flow down to the center, look big, look sporty, while giving us that little surface.
Now, to the uninitiated, it would seem that like that churning air would force cool air into the brakes. Is that what it does? Does it sort of?
It actually kind of pumps it out.
Pulls
and
it
so
out.
It sucks
pulls
it from
it out,
underneath.
okay.
Yeah.
And it's different front and rear, so the aerodynamic flow of the air through the wheel is different in the front and the rear. So, ideally you'd want a different wheel design for the front than in the rear, and then
But they're the
multiply
same.
that to the same. But they're the same,
They're the same now, yeah.
from an
We have to-
efficiency perspective. So
to
we
balance
balance
it,
it
Right.
front and rear.
Okay. Very good. Okay, let's see what else we have
The
here.
back end is great. It's really
Yeah.
new stuff back here.
Well, this is my favorite part of the car, the rear. Especially these haunches here. I first became aware of that on a car. David North designed the '66 Tornado, and it looked like
Shoulders, right?
It looked like shoulders.
Yeah.
It looked like when you see an animal like a cougar about to.
Yeah.
It gives
get
you
up,
that.
like
that
that
so
cat scene.
the Miura has that too. And so the feminine front end, masculine rear end,
Yeah.
which is kind of neat. And this is I was looking at this thinking, what am I missing here? And then I realized, there's no light here, is there? This is.
No, this is super cool. This
Yeah.
is a world first. Really.
Yeah, first in the industry, we believe, of an indirect running light, basically. So there's no direct light that you see. It's all reflected on this panel. We've designed the custom texture, and then we just drop out the word mark. And it really creates a unique, fresh look. There's a lot of cars with, LED light strips that go across the car.
Right.
But this is really soft and just gives a really fresh, new way.
Well, it's interesting because you'd think there'd be some government regulation. No, you must have a light right here.
Right.
It cannot be reflected. It
Right.
cannot be. But there's not, is there?
Well, there is.
Ah.
There's a light. The regulation is how much lumens come off the surface, but it never defines what kind of surface that has
Right.
to be.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is what I was talking about earlier, where we try really hard to give the team what they want. And so the light's actually coming from up top, and it's reflecting off that surface that Franz talked about. But the amount of light you see is actually
Meets the requirements.
Meets the
Now,
requirements.
is this a third brake light as well?
No, third brake light's
up top
still
in the glass.
in the glass.
Oh, it's in the. Okay, I can't see it.
And then
Okay.
the brake lights and turn indicators are still here.
I
So
got it.
you still get a little bit of that distinctive look when the brakes are on.
Okay.
Cool story about this, though. Franz and I were in the studio, and originally this was a 3-piece lamp.
Yeah.
And I remember Franz standing there behind it, looking at the brake and the light. Because when you had 3 pieces, we had a tiny little gap.
Right.
And Franz is like,
I
we
hate
gotta
it.
make, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. And he's looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, it's got to be 1 piece.
Yeah.
And so we actually had to go with our lighting suppliers, buy the machines that were never made this big before. This is over 5 feet wide. It's like 5 foot 3 inches or something wide light. And we had to buy new machines, just like we did with our Giga castings, to make the biggest injection molding machine 2-shot in the world. And we have them, in one in each continent.
Well,
to
let me ask you
do
about that, because you guys as engineers and designers, I remember I'd always read about Carroll Shelby and whether it's GM or Ford, Like when they wanted to put the louvers in the front of the Corvette. No, just draw them on. It's too expensive to do that. I mean, at Tesla, it seems like you don't have that problem. You need something, you get it. You know, like the idea that, oh, there's a little break here that drives you nuts, but the average person wouldn't notice it, so let's not bother. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
cost engineering is a real thing, but like you gotta. I mean, I think that too many people stop at like, oh, it's hard, but actually, making one part is easier than making 3.
Right.
And you only have to ship one part, so the logistics go down. And like we try like to pull costs out of other areas and put it in areas that are really important. And overall, like cost isn't there, but the first answer to any idea is not no, but it costs this much. It's yes, and I'll figure out how to do it.
And we pay attention to the details, and details eventually they add up to the whole, right? So when you have a car with, doesn't have a lot of excessive stuff, those little details make all the difference.
Well, that's what I like about Tesla. They really understand manufacturing. Like I know the Rivian, great vehicle, but if you kind of get a little prong in that rear quarter panel, oh my God, it's almost a total. It's like $50,000 to repair because it's all one unit or one piece.
Well, actually, on that discussion, we looked at what happened with the current or the outgoing Model Y, and we said rear impacts into the liftgate are a problem. Right. So we increased the offset to the bumper and the liftgate. So now you're not going to have, on a rear impact, you're not going to have the liftgate affected by.
Oh, you're just going to
replace the plastic.
Yeah, you just hit that part now. So, little improvements like that. Again, like what you're saying, we're putting back into this car. The other thing you were talking about is the stance, from the rear of the car. It's the haunches and the stance. But we also changed that by bringing the glass to a square corner. So it really kind of helps define visually the stance of the car.
Let me ask, is that glass or is it like a plastic composite glass?
No, that glass, all the glass on the car is glass.
Right.
It's all acoustically laminated glass now to make the cabin quieter.
Right.
On the backlight as well as a laminated piece of glass. So there's a piece of glass on the outside, a PVB layer, plastic in between.
So it's lighter than the equivalent. If this was 1958 and you were doing Jensen,
just soda lime glass.
Yeah, it's just soda lime.
Yeah, it would be a 300-pound piece of glass. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Can we open the trunk here? Let's see.
Yeah, so like a lot of times when you open the trunk, you have to stand and touch a button. But what we've done is just made it hands-free.
So you just walk up to it and it opens?
Yeah.
Okay, but suppose you're just walking by.
Well,
that's why you noticed he stood there for a few seconds.
Yeah, I have my phone in my pocket, and rather than giving you some stupid other feature where you have to wave your foot or do some magic hand thing, we just linked it to the phone using ultra-wideband Bluetooth, and so it has a millimeter level detection of where you're standing. So you have to be right in that spot, and we have a window about this big where you can stand, and you have to be there for a couple seconds, so if you're just walking by, it won't open up.
Now here's something that just seems so simple. I've had this in mind too. What do you do with this when you have
the parcel shelf?
The parcel shelf. Yeah. So, we added the parcel shelf in the mid-life cycle Model Y, and because a lot of people wanted to cover up their stuff, for security.
Right.
But the problem is you go to the store and, you have something you want to get out of the store and you're like, oh man, I got this big thing now. I got this huge box in my trunk. Where do I put it? Well, we decided to take a little advantage of our packaging space and just give you a little cubby there. So you still get a big flat thing, and you can store away your parcel shelf whenever you need to.
You should do it like, here, take this, like, you know how they would do it on those bad infomercials? Ordinary parcel shelves go everywhere. It doesn't fit in the back, it won't fit in the front. What do you do with it? That's my favorite thing. Maybe see the one with the hose. Hot water, cold water, who can figure out which? It's such a big deal.
Well, but it's good stuff, though.
It just seems so simple. Yeah, very nice.
Back up there. And like these kind of little details, like Franz is talking about.
Well, if you leave it out, we can, also.
Okay, we can talk about it. Sure, yeah.
Super flush load floor now, so you don't get your stuff caught and then it falls in.
Put it back
you do get a lot of extra storage space down below, which is great. And if you need even more storage space, just at the touch of a button.
We have the flip and fold seats that usually you have to do manually, and now we've added that as a power system.
So now you can take a nap.
Was there ever the thought of adding a spare tire? For example, I find with the roads are so terrible in California, and I got those big wheels on my Plaid. I 3 flat tires in a year, and now I bought a spare Tesla tire. I just carry sometimes because I'm on my way to the airport and I get a flat. I can't change it. I got to, is there any thought about somebody coming up with some kind of possible spare? That
Yeah, so I mean, we talk about spares all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, like, I think you're the exception to the rule with 3 flat tires a year, but like the number of flats that occur year over year go down because we do a lot of work in the tires to make sure that they can resist those. We do offer like the the fixed flat inflator kit that you can get with the car.
Oh, the Canada Ready Whip, you mean?
Yeah. But you plug it into the outlet and it powers it up for you, so it's powered compressor. And then of course we have our mobile road service, which I'm sure have used many times.
But the 19-inch tire is usually you're okay.
Right. It's super robust.
Yeah. With the other one, it always splits the sidewall, so the inflatable can
not helpful.
Doesn't do anything. Very good.
But we have good roadside assistance too. They come and help you out pretty quickly.
We also made it so that if the front seats are in the way of the rear seats, they do a little choreography where they tip down the front seat so the rear seats can get down and then the front seat goes back.
Very good.
And that's because we do our own in-house controls. We don't have to buy that from a supplier. So.
Cool.
So we were actually able to increase the volume here from the outgoing car as well. So you get a little bit more space for all your stuff, and you can configure it in a way that you want. If you have people, or you go into IKEA or Home Depot or whatever, you can put all your stuff in.
And a lot of these ideas come from feedback from customers.
Absolutely,
almost all of them. A lot of times, you're sitting in the design room, you think you know more about the car than your customers, but actually your customers are the ones who know, right? So we always try and listen to what they're saying, what they want, and put it into the car.
Yeah, I mean, we're paying attention. For a while, we had a supercharger right in front of our studio.
Right.
So people would come in while they're supercharging, and I would run into them, and they'd say, "Hey, I love my car, but can you fix this?" And they, once they get going, they go, and they're like the captive audience. So we take all that to heart, and we want to, make the best product, something that people love, and we'll continue to talk about. So that feedback is super important. So keep telling us, and we'll keep improving.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right, let's put this back down. Where's the here? Right here.
Push the button.
Man, I love that light.
Yeah, the light is really good.
Yeah.
Well, let's get inside the car and show what's new there.
Yeah, the interior is all new, so excited to show you that.
Let's give it a shot.
Cool.
Well, the first thing I noticed, the door shuts with a more convincing thud, like a bank vault than it used to.
Yeah, something that Lars came up with is that we raise the window a little bit as you're closing the door, so it doesn't rattle inside the door, so it just feels nice and solid.
It goes back down after you close the door, but it's just a little trick we do to make the car nicer.
Right. Let's see what else is new.
Well, the whole interior is new, so I think what we did was we obviously listened to a lot of feedback. We improved the material story in here, but we created a really nice wraparound design. And we have ambient lighting now in the car, so a million colors. You can choose your mood.
You can change the colors.
You can change the color to whatever you want. And we have just new materials all the way through. The air blade has textile on the top now, bringing it around in the door, and the white it's a synthetic leather.
Right.
And it's super easy to clean. People are like, "Oh, I'm not sure about white. It's going to get dirty." But you just soap and water cleans right up, and
soap and water.
Yeah.
Well, how do you dry it with
towel, I guess.
A towel, I guess. All right. Okay. Very good.
But yeah, if you have kids, I have kids, and we have a white interior in our car, and it looks like brand new. And so again, with this new wraparound design, we have a center console now with 2 phones for charging. You can charge 2 phones like you're doing right now. One thing that's actually quite nice, and we listened to the customers on this, is we brought back the stock for the indicators. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, that's that is great, because that's the idea of I always have to look at my. I'll turn on the wipers. I'll flash the high beam. There's some ideas that just work. It's like the stick that holds the hood up. Yep, and the stick goes and it holds the hood up. They come with the dampeners and all this other kind of stuff, but the stick, it's full, lasts forever, lasts the life of the car.
Yeah.
Oh, I just noticed that. Oh, that's great.
So when you indicate the left turn, right turn comes up on the screen as well. So and we have some blind spot warnings that appear there as well. But
well, it's interesting when I talk to a lot of people, they seem to want the return of buttons and switches again. It's we went through the whole "your door is ajar" and
Yeah,
all the talking car stuff that way, and then you just touch the screen. But now people think, you got to clean the screen, and having the old like even the new Rolls that has the actual buttons because their customers prefer.
Right.
The touch
But it
of
doesn't
the
give you the chance to kind of infinitely configure
Right.
the use case for the interior. So I think, and in a world where we're going to see more and more autonomous vehicles and full self-driving for Tesla is advancing rapidly and people will be driving less, you need less buttons to interface with, and giving you the ability for us to consistently make the car better through the UI improvements. Hard buttons kind of limit you on that.
Right.
You're stuck with that, and it can date the car as well.
Yeah.
But with the stock, we always say at Tesla, if you aren't deleting so much that you have to put something back, you haven't deleted enough.
Right.
And maybe we delete
Well,
it.
I do like it. Just makes it easy. My Ford GT has it too. I have to look to make sure
Right,
I'm hitting.
Yeah, now you
just
don't
go
have
like
to
this. It just seems so much simpler.
Yep.
Right? Oh, very good.
Yes,
That's
I
very
knew
good.
you'd be happy about that.
That's the retro thing. Very good. Very good.
Another thing that's actually quite cool is we've added more speakers into the interior, so that much more immersive
Right.
sound. And some of them are actually hidden in the E-pillar. The speakers behind the material. So we developed a material that the sound can flow through. You don't have to have a big speaker mesh up here that's kind of like in your eyeballs.
We also added microphones, and so that when you're on your phone calls, they're about 2/3 more clear.
Oh, okay.
Because we added microphones up in the headliner there and in the corner so that it triangulates your voice better. And we know it's coming from the driver, so we can get that sound and isolate out the other sounds.
Plus, there was a time in the '90s and the 2000s where you had an impressive looking the speakers right here.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has
Right.
Bong & Olufsen or whatever. It's all
Yeah.
written in there. It's very classy.
Yeah.
Well,
I like the idea that it's hidden. Much better.
it's an unknown feature about Tesla. We actually do our own digital sound processing. We have a
Right.
great sound audio team. Our sound system has its own integrated amplifier. It's got 16 speakers plus one subwoofer. The immersivity of it is really amazing. Like if you're an audiophile, there's only one car to buy.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's us.
Yeah.
And I think people just underappreciate that a lot.
So you don't have to go on to Ed and Al's Auto Sound and have the. Remember,
luck.
that was a big thing. You buy a new car, first thing you do is
Change the stereo. Yeah.
But
You
the
with
Kenwood
the little
unit-
handle that pulls out, and you
Yeah.
can take it with you
Oh
like
yeah,
a
take
suitcase.
it with you. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
On the audio system, back here I actually get my own space now.
Yeah.
So we have a 8-inch screen back here we took over just from the new Model 3. But new on this car is really awesome is you can actually pair your Bluetooth to the back screen and watch something different.
So the kids can watch a carton
Right.
And you can listen to whatever you want up front.
up
your own
front. So
music.
you don't have to interact with your family at all.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Those long road trips just got so much easier.
We're driving through the Grand. What are you going to watch when you're going through the Grand Canyon? You got to have something to look at. Yeah,
That's right.
Okay, and this is just a mirror or is it camera too?
Just a mirror there.
Okay.
Right above that is the camera.
Okay.
Another really kind of technological innovation sort of hidden in here is we actually have had a radar up there for a number of years, an interior cabin radar. And what we're doing with that now is we're actually classifying occupants. So we're looking at the size of the occupant in there, the height, the weight, the heartbeat, and we're able to use that information more directly to better adjust our safety systems, such as the safety belt and the airbag, based on who's in the seat. And in the future, in a few months, we're still working on this. We'll add it to the rear seat. So if you leave your dog or your kid in the rear seat, you'll get a notification like, hey. There's someone alive still in the car.
Right.
But don't worry, we have dog mode, so
As long as you leave
the
that.
dogs won't suffocate.
Yeah, the dog mode that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
great. It's a feature that everybody loves and allows you to keep your pets in the car safely.
Right. It doesn't keep idiots from smashing the window. 'cause
Yeah.
they think
Well,
they're
we put a big label on the screen,
Yeah.
so
What does it say? My person will be back soon.
yes.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, very good. All right, are we ready to go for a ride?
Yeah, let's go
Sure.
for a ride.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Pretty quick for a little
Yeah,
SUV.
still
Very
moves,
quick.
right?
Yeah, very nice. But feels very solid.
Yeah, I mean, we actually did a lot of work on the underbody that you don't see.
Yeah.
Globally, the car's like 5% stiffer torsionally, but really what we focused on was endpoint stuff for the suspension and connections, make those super stiff, and that way we could lower the bushing rates and get better isolation, so you get a better ride, but it also feels solid.
Yeah, it's lighter, but it feels heavier.
Yeah, it's a good way to
And
put it.
not in the steering, just in the
Like
sort
the
of-
agility, sort of the
yeah,
feel
planted.
of it. Yeah. Well, the suspension's all new in that regard. You know, we redid the front and rear kinematics. The rear kinematics really focusing on impact noise. It's a big complaint from a lot of our customers. Impact noise is down about 25-30%, and that all comes from the suspension geometry and that point stiffening that we were talking about. Let the body flow back there and reduce that booming that people get annoyed by. So you can have better conversation front and rear.
What's the highest mileage Tesla you found that a customer has had? Is there anybody?
So there's this guy in the UK.
Yeah.
He's got over 200,000 miles, almost
that's not
almost
much.
300,000 kilometers.
Oh, I thought it was going to be.
And there's a
a
guy that
million
goes
miles,
to
yeah.
and from Vegas. I think he's up to 500,000.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of crazy. Actually, there's a study in the UK that just came out that said our batteries and powertrain costs, you know, over lifetime to get to 200,000 miles or whatever, is significantly better than any other car on the road, whether it's a battery EV or
Right,
an ICE,
right.
you know, which is true. You don't have to replace anything, you know.
I haven't heard of anybody dying. The battery's just dead.
No, I mean, it's really, you can't really brick a battery anymore, you know, like that was a problem early days of the original Roadster, but now we get on, you know, on life support, and even if the, you know, if you leave the car sit for a while, you can still revive them.
I mean, I had my 12 for 9 years, and it was maybe 2%, 3% less. Yeah. Even my P1 McLaren, I've been driving that for 10 years, and that's got that battery. It's at 91% because I keep it charged in.
Right,
And,
yeah.
I use, you know.
If you maintain the battery, like you're saying, leave
Yeah,
it plugged
people
in or
just.
whatever,
I mean, I know a guy with a 918 Porsche. His third battery on it because he didn't.
Doesn't take care of it.
And then you go to Europe for 6 months, you come back, forgot to plug it in.
Yeah.
One of the things I always notice about this car when we're sitting here at a light is with all that acoustic glass and the other noise improvements we made, it's like really quiet right now.
It's really quiet.
Like
yeah.
you can't hear the cars on the outside or the train going by. It makes you feel like you're in your own space, which is kind of relaxing when you're on the highway in autopilot.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And then when you do use the sound system, it just has, you know,
Yeah.
you're not competing for all the outside noise.
And how many speakers? In,
16 speakers,
Wow, okay.
so it's quite a bit. And then
And
the
that's
one
standard?
subwoofer. Yeah, in the Launch Edition all-wheel drive, you get the 16 speaker standard. You know, in our lesser models, we have 12 and 14, depending on which one you get. But there's really no audio option. We never make a bad audio system.
yeah.
But it doesn't feel like you're looking at a boombox with
Right,
speakers
right.
all over the place.
Right, yeah. That used to be the selling point.
Yeah.
It's like when the turbo on the side of the car,
Right.
when the arrow is pointing under the hood. And, oh my gosh.
You know, it got bad when they started calling cars turbo that didn't have turbos.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. Well, Porsche, which so surprised me that the electric, what is it, the Taycan, was that?
Taycan.
Taycan.
Taycan
It's
Turbo
the
S.
turbo, because I
Yeah.
hear kids go, I want to get one with the turbo. But there's no turbo. Yeah, it's electric. There's no turbo.
That's the puzzling name.
It seems so
Decision.
un-Porsche-like.
Yeah, exactly, right?
You know, the Germans have that, you know. It's
There's
like,
such a pragmatic approach.
it's like the
and
Germans, the Three
sensibility.
Stooges. The
Yeah.
man has no hair. Why would he be called curly? It does not make sense. Yeah. It's so funny. This rear view mirror looks like a camera to me.
Well, you can still pull it up on the screen if you want all the cameras. Or you can put the front camera up on the screen.
I love using this. You know, other cars, other electrics that have a screen, you only get the rear view camera when backing up. But there's no law, right? You can have it.
You can have it on all the time.
I mean, it seems like a wonderful safety feature just to keep an eye on.
And now we put the, you know, the left and right repeater cameras so you can see, you
Yeah.
know, your blind spots too.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Oh, the stock.
Yeah.
How is the stock?
The stock is great. It's one of those things that's just so intuitive that, you know, you just, okay, down is that way.
It's like an instinctual thing to just press, right?
Yeah.
New seats. So we have heated and cooled seats now.
Right.
So in the front, you can cool down or heat up, which is great.
that just the front? Or
Yeah,
all
just the front.
Yeah.
The rear has
Heated in the
seats.
rear.
Yeah, we have heated seats in the rear, but ventilated's only in the front. And it works with HVAC system. So it's all auto. In Tesla HVAC, we sort of believe, you know, all input is error. And so we try and make it work with the system, but of course
Right.
you can override it and, you know, do whatever you want.
Yeah, lots of storage here, storage up here. Can hide it all away, close it all up. You don't have to see the cup holders or anything.
So if you don't have an iPhone, you don't have a sound system, correct?
Oh, no. The sound system is in the car.
Oh,
Yeah.
this the sound system comes with the
Yeah.
car. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
And we have lots of choices for sound between Spotify, Apple Music is now new, TuneIn,
Did they
Amazon
still have
Music.
on my Tesla the you just say a song and it plays it?
Yes,
Really cool.
Still
do the
does
same.
that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's everything for sure.
Did they make a 3-motor version of this as well?
We do not make 3, just 1 or 2. 3 is reserved for Plaid and the Beast.
And the Roadster.
And a Roadster.
And the
eventually.
Roadster.
Right.
You know, the speed you get out of this car, I don't know if you really need 3. It's quite quick.
It's almost 500 horsepower. I mean,
Yeah, I know,
And the
it's
torque
crazy.
is nearly the same. That's like that. You know, that used to be supercar territory.
Right.
So what you got there, Jay, is in all our Teslas, we always have all our automated safety features included.
Right.
So if you get too close to the lane on the left or the right, it's actually going to help you steer back to the center.
Gotcha.
So that's corrective steering that's applied. And I notice you're on the brake pedal here at the light, gives me the opportunity to remember. One of the things we did with this car that's super unique is we actually have a pedal that has a separate hydraulic channel to the brake system,
Right.
so that when we're driving, all of the regen and all of the braking can be put into the motor and in the battery as much as possible. And we can actually do blending on both the accelerator pedal and the brake pedal, so we get as much energy back as we can, and that way you get the most efficient vehicle possible. But another cool feature for that is the brake pedal doesn't move when you're in autopilot. So a lot of people had complained about how it was farther away when they went to, take over. But it's
Right.
always going to be in the same place now. It's always going to feel the same.
Gotcha.
And we got a more efficient vehicle out of it.
Right.
Yeah, suspension impacts are nice and quiet now, right?
They're super quiet. Impact noise, is down quite a bit in this car, but even on this like relatively bumpy road, you can feel it. And I think in the second row, you feel it the most. There's a lot of improvement back here. The noise from behind the lift gate is
Anything
gone.
revolutionary happening in battery technology, and like the 5-minute charge or the 10-minute charge?
Everyone's always hoping for the next big leap in battery and cell
Yeah,
technology.
yeah.
The reality is it's like an incremental thing to improve it, and we're always working on new improvements. One of the things we did just this winter for charging was, in the cold, our batteries don't like to take energy.
Right.
No batteries do. So we actually started using preconditioning, and which we've done for a while, where we take heat out of the motors and other places and put it into the batteries to get ready to charge. And we started using the supercharger with a thing we call AC current ripple to heat up the batteries so that you can charge faster, even when it's like minus 20 out.
Yeah.
I actually was just up in Alaska with our team testing that. And what used to take an hour to precondition to start charging in a supercharger now only takes 15 or 20 minutes, even in Alaska at minus 20 degrees. It's pretty crazy.
Well, that's interesting.
And that actually goes into all the cars. At Tesla, we're always beaming new software out, and that went out this winter to a number of customers because, as Franz said, we listen. There's a big complaint, so we came up with a unique, novel way to charge faster.
I had a funny joke about Alaska. I did a gig up there in February. The sun came up at 11:30, went down at 1:30 afternoon. It was 40 degrees below zero. But when I went into the thrifty drugstore, the ice cream was still soft. I don't understand. I don't understand how that's possible. It's such a stupid.
Well, we test up there, in the winter because it is dark all the time and cold, like you said. But minus 40 is a special temperature where Fahrenheit and Celsius are the same, and I feel like that's when you shouldn't be outside. But a lot of people say, do your cars work in the winter? And I mean, we spend months up there making sure that they work in the cold and making improvements in charging and
just
stuff.
dealing with all the stupid myths and misconceptions is
Yeah.
just got to be frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we're super thankful to be talking to you today.
Yeah.
Because we can, debunk a lot of that.
Yeah, give a shout out to those guys that spend.
I mean, this thing is so fast. It's hilarious.
When people get that little smile you got, Jay, I
Yeah.
call it the Tesla chuckle.
Well, it's so funny. I've been driving cars lately that have, to me, ridiculous sounds that make the electric cars. To me, I find the absence of noise as exciting as noise.
Sure.
It's just when it's in the middle and it doesn't make any sense that I find it annoying. I was talking to a director about that the other day. He wanted to do a car chase. And I said, why don't you do an electric car chase? But make the cars a sword noise, like, you know,
Yeah.
the two of them come up to a light, and then they're and it's a completely silent chase, but you just hear that the whoosh,
air.
Right,
the
the
whoosh,
wind,
like
yeah.
like a knife cutting
Yeah.
through the air, you know. And he said he kind of thought that was intriguing, but it's just a new kind of car chase
Right.
instead of big wah, wah, you know.
Yeah.
It's like when I was watching the classic Hawaii 5.0. He's driving that giant Mercury Marquis,
Right.
and he's in the sand on the beach. The car's,
Swirling
Squealing
down.
tires in the sand.
Squealing, yeah, hilarious. It's just so funny because there's certain things people just expect to happen.
Yeah, nobody questions that noise, right?
Yeah.
When they're watching.
Well, my favorite one, I always feel sorry for Audi. I'm watching the Bourne Identity, and they have whatever the brand new Audi was that year, for
Right.
2012. It's got the steel door locks, and boom, he runs in parking, gets in, touch two wires, the blue wire and the red wire, the car starts.
Right.
I imagine engineers, God, they would pull their hair out.
It's a little more difficult nowadays to jump start.
Well, now with the latest software, you can use your Apple Watch as your key as well.
Oh, that's
So-
interesting. Boy, it really does feel more planted. It just feels hunkered down.
That's something we've been working on for a while, is just making these cars more holistic. It's got the same frequency selective damping that we had in the new Model 3. We adopted that in here, and that really allows us to separate primary and secondary ride, make it more planted, but also more comfortable.
I don't hear about it very often, but I assume they're still just building charging stations left and right, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, we are expanding the supercharger network all the time, and we've also put a lot of effort into expanding like AC charging or destination charging, overnight charging. But it's all over the States, all over Europe. You can charge, pretty much anywhere you want in China and in Japan, all the major countries.
Does California have the most charging stations?
That's a tough one. Probably. I
Yeah,
mean, California is like the biggest state,
Right.
population-wise.
But you can pretty much go anywhere and find a supercharger.
Right.
You can actually
Inside
pull 'em on the map.
cities, outside the cities.
Click charger there on the right, Franz, and you can pull them up. There's all the ones nearby.
Oh yeah, look at that.
It's like a Red Sea.
Yeah.
So all the dots give you an idea of where we are locally.
And I guess there are people that still have the first gen that still get free supercharging.
Yes,
There's a
that's
handful
correct.
of those people out there.
That is
Yeah,
correct.
and the guy will never sell it now.
That's right.
Just
That's right.
Primarily for that reason.
Yep.
One of the cool things about the charging network that you see on here and Trip Planner is like in this new software that you get with Model Y, and it'll be beamed everything. We upgraded our Trip Planner to include not only the number of people that are at the charger, but also the rate of charge and the weather, which Franz is putting on here. Of course, we're in Southern California, so
Right.
there's not much weather.
So there's
Right.
no weather right now, but there's a weather overlay for what's happening.
And we include that weather now in the Trip Planner. So if you're going up through the mountains and it's raining and cold and you're going to be using more heat,
Right.
it'll be included in Trip Planner, so we know that you can trust that and get to your destination with the right amount of charge.
How much heat does, obviously you're better off running just your heated seat rather than heating the whole car, correct?
Well, I mean, we balance that, but with the heat pump system, we're actually not generating heat unless we need it in the cold.
Right.
We have a 12 kilowatt compressor that can generate heat, but what we're doing is we're taking the waste heat from the motor, just like an IC engine,
Right.
and using that to heat the cabin. But with a heat pump, it's really cool because you can just move heat around. And so when you think about cooling, you also think, oh, I need to have a condenser and to cool things down. But actually what we do with the heat pump and the heat exchanger is we just suck the heat out of the cabin, and that way we're using the heat pump to cool as well and putting heat where it needs to go, whether that be the battery or the motor.
What's not possible now but will be someday? Anything you think of I mean, I can remember even as much as 20 years ago, it'll take 100 years to convert from gas to electric. Remember that talk, it'll be the 21st century before that ever happened. And of course, it's literally happening. I mean, it slowed down a little bit. It's going to be 2030, but then everybody kind of got scared.
Flying car?
Yeah, flying car.
That's never going to happen. That seems really stupid.
Never say never.
That seems like the dumbest thing to me.
Yeah, but it'd be fun.
Would be fun.
Well, just the idea that, imagine the average idiot, somebody's below
But in a more
you.
automated and autonomous environment, then I think you run into those issues less and less.
I think that's really where you hit the nose from. It's like what's not possible now, but almost in the future, is this fully autonomous driving.
Right.
Like we are really close. We're doing it, fully autonomous rides in our engineering fleet right now and in Texas, and that's coming around the corner. And I don't think people really realize how close it is to just getting in a car, pressing the destination, and then getting there without even touching the wheel or the pedals. And like that's going to be ubiquitous, I think, faster than
and then
anyone imagines.
the absence of wheels and pedals because of that.
Exactly. Like Cybercab when we did the October event, no wheels, no pedals.
Well, it seems like you would always have to have some sort of fail. For example, there's no crank here, but if this electric window didn't work, there's a way to get the window down, correct? Or the door.
The door
The
can
door
open,
opens,
it's a manual button.
Right.
In the front, you got the manual release, and in the back, here in the.
I think I would always want something, so just seems a little.
Yeah, I mean, I think people feel comfortable with that emergency stop button. But you get in a plane or a train, you have no control. You just get to the destination.
Right.
So it'll be similar to that feeling.
Well, Tesla's robo-taxi is supposed to start pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, the cybercabs are, like Lars was saying, we're testing in Texas and rolling it out. And, starting in June, we'll have cybercabs rolling around in the Texas area. So super exciting. And I think that's going to be like we were talking about, that'll be the technology that feels like the future, but it's happening today.
Right.
And every Tesla comes fully capable with that. This car does. Your car has it. And so when I'm sort of like thinking about in my life is my kids here, they're 8 and 10. And I wonder if they're ever going to drive a car. Like I think about it all the time. It was the first thing I wanted to do when I was 16, and my kids, I get in the car and they're like, Dad, put it on autopilot. I think they're just never going to drive.
But as a parent, you want safety for your kids, right? And
Yeah, but
autopilot's
something,
already
for
proven
example,
to be safer.
People still want to sail,
Yeah, that's true.
because you want the wind and all,
And people want to ride horses.
People, they ride horses, they climb, they rock climb. I think.
But it's not the primary means of getting from A to B.
You do it for
anymore.
recreation.
Exactly.
But there are more horses now in America than there have been at any other time in history, right now.
It's crazy to think about, right?
And
You think the
and they're all-
1880s
Yeah,
Wild
they're all
West,
for recreational purposes.
We should do a Jay Leno's garage on a horse.
Yeah, I know, that'd be funny. Well, that's why when the Model T came out, oh my God, there used to be 60,000 tons of manure on the streets of New York every single day.
Yeah.
People died of dysentery in the summer, the smell and the heat, and people become sick. And suddenly Henry Ford comes along and here's a little blue smoke in your face. This is quite pleasant.
Right.
Makes you feel a little high. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It seemed like a good idea.
Well, actually, back on safety for your kids, if you do have a new kid learning how to drive, we actually have parental controls in the Tesla, so you can set the maximum acceleration and speed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Put a LAC password in. One of the things my parents did when I first learned how to drive is they only let me drive the old car 0-60 in like 18 seconds.
Yeah.
Top speed of 80 miles per hour.
That's
It was a
funny.
diesel. Still have that car. Of course, I turbocharged it and made it quite a bit faster, but they were trying to control
It's
safety that
funny.
way.
The one thing I notice with really young kids today, like 7, 8, 9, if I take my Countach to a car show, cool. You want to sit in it? Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, they don't. When I was a kid, God,
Yeah,
sit
yeah,
in it.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
sit in it.
Yeah.
That's great. But now there's like, But they said the same thing when I was a kid. Television was going to ruin everything. Kids will never read books; they'll just watch television. I suppose there's a certain amount of truth to that.
Give my kids a television or a book,
Yeah.
can tell you which one they're going to pick.
Yeah. But nobody really watches television anymore. do
Right,
they?
yeah. It's true.
Oh boy, it pulls hard.
Yeah, it does, right?
Yeah, it pulls hard all the way up.
Well, I hope you all learned something about the new Model Y. And Franz and Lars, of course, the designer and the engineer. That's what's great. They can tell you all the little changes. Because if first you look at it, you go, it looks different, but you can't figure out what's different. And then once you point them out, they become pretty obvious. But I learned a little today. I hope you did too. Guys, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time to come by and show us what's new at Tesla. And I'm still waiting for that Roadster.
Me too. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Let's get back to the studio, Franz.
Let's get back
working
to the
on it.
studio. That's
Yes.
right. Hey, thanks, you guys. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for checking it out.